The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to the very first conversation of Jamel Hardtman Unscripted, where we have conversations about things that matter with people who do. Please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you can, you don't want to miss any content, videos, or upcoming conversations with a variety of people that will be, coming on this show to tell their stories, to inform, inspire, and motivate you. Tonight's guest, it's one of Bermuda's most popular faces and voices. From broadcast media to nonprofit, her charitable background and bubbly personality has made an impact in the lives of so many throughout Bermuda. A Berkeleyite, I believe Greenhouse, and unfortunately, a Somerset fan as well. She has been honored through the community for a number of contributions she's made to Bermuda. She's a recipient of the Queen's Certificate and Badge of Honor. She's been recognized as Philanthropist of the Year at the Premier's Awards, as well as a host of other things. She's a devoted mother, wife, and woman of faith who actively serves on numerous committees, including, but not limited to, the Bermuda Media Council Appointments Committee, a founding executive, member of the Pigsfield Family Connection, a member of the Berkeley Educational Society Management Committee, the International Women's Day Committee. She's also a We Speak coach and mentor to many. She lives by the quote, "If we're all doing our small part, we can make Bermuda a better place." End quote. I'm pleased to welcome to Jamel Hardtman Unscripted, Patrina Power Girl O'Connor Painter. My friend, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jamel. It's amazing to be here. I was so nervous.
Why?
I don't know. And I started to feel like, okay, maybe something's telling me not to come on this show, because I don't know if you know what happened to me earlier.
Well, I mean, there were some signs. There were some signs saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah. Even as late as like 7 o'clock, when I went to my office to jump online to do a test with you. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I get to the door and the elevator's not working. So I had to run up flights of stairs. Then once I get up the stairs, I get inside and the internet refuses to work. And then I'm looking and it's 7:20 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get on the show at 7:40. How am I going to do this? So,
I think it was a conspiracy. I think people were saying, no, bro, no. Have you seen him on the Daily Hour? You see what he does with people? Don't go on that show with Jamel. No, honestly, things happen like that, especially when you're dealing with technology. And I'm so happy and proud that we can have this conversation. So thank you. We eventually got it working. And if it weren't meant to be, we would not be here doing it. So thank you for doing this. Let's jump right into the conversation, though. As I mentioned, speaking about you, this is who she is, folks. Trust me. Well, when I mentioned just in the intro, people know your voice, they know your face. But tell us a bit about your upbringing. Where did you grow up? What schools did you attend outside of the Berkeley, of course?
The Berkeley, like the guys at the Berkeley. Thank you very much. But anyway, I went to Gilbert Institute. I actually grew up St. Monica's Mission, 42nd. That's where I grew up. That's where I grew up for most of my life. And then I moved to, I think it was Green Acres area. And that was a nice community area. But like I said, I went to Gilbert Institute. And what I liked about Gilbert Institute is that it was people from all different races, different backgrounds. And so you didn't really know color going to that school, if you understand what I mean. And you accepted everyone for who they were. And that's one of the things I appreciated most about going to Gilbert Institute. And then I went to the Berkeley Institute. And of course, it was definitely different because obviously it's a predominantly Black school. But the thing is, I really learned a lot going there about myself and who I wanted to be.
Well, let's go back to primary school. So, Gilbert, you lived St. Monica's, went to Gilbert. Were you have one sibling, two siblings? Like, did you? How was growing up going to Gilbert and then like transitioning to Berkeley? Like, were you a big sister, the little sister, the middle child?
I'm
Probably.
the oldest child. I'm the oldest. The funny part is I'm the smallest out of everybody. I'm really, really like short and
Mm,
tiny. And my sister is tall and
mm,
my brother is tall. So it's like I really look like the odd one out. So everybody's like, oh, yeah, the little sister. No, I'm the eldest sister. Um,
mm,
going to Gilbert Institute, like I said, it was my mom used to call my parties the We Are the World parties because you had everyone from different demographics there. And then I went to Berkeley, and I have to admit, it was a little different for me. Even
mm,
though I lived back a ton, it still was a little bit different to go
mm,
to a school that was predominantly Black with people like me.
mm,
Um, but I'm glad I got that experience of going to Gilbert Institute, though,
mm,
because it opened my eyes to a lot of different things, and it didn't keep me just one-minded, if you know what I mean,
mm,
and
mm.
a little bit more open.
Yeah. We've got some people in the audience. Shayna Smith says, I'm the oldest and shortest too. So some relatable people out there. Let's go to the Berkeley. So you married your high school sweetheart, right?
So,
And
so, but see,
yeah.
what people don't know
Uh-huh.
is that at Berkeley, so while I enjoyed going to school there were some people that just didn't like me. I was always that person because you guys know, growing up, I actually used to sing with my mom. I was a little girl that sang, and so there was a year in third year I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't. I was trying to, just kind of fit in. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And I didn't get my work done in that year, and I ended up staying back in my third year of Berkeley,
mm,
which is really embarrassing, and that's another story in itself. But if I didn't stay back in my third year of Berkeley, I probably wouldn't be with my husband now because I stayed back into his class. And
ah.
so, yeah, I stayed back into Quincy's class. And that's kind of how it all started. We ended up just being the best of friends because think about it, like here he is, a supposedly fourth year
Mhm.
staying back into a third year class. Like people, it was kind of weird. People, I didn't
Yeah.
really have a friend network in that class. And then Quincy became like my best friend where we would just
Mm.
hang out and I would steal his lunch because he always bought lunch. My family didn't have no money to buy lunch. So he always had to steak him from the tuck shop. So I would always bring my sandwiches or whatever to school.
Uh-huh.
And he'd be like, oh, I want just sandwich. I said, well, I want just steak them. So that's how it all started.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, you started there, high school sweetheart. We
Yeah.
don't seem to hear of these stories anymore. Really, we
Yeah.
just don't. How do you both, after all this time, and I'm not trying to age anyone, but
Well, you
after
can say
all,
look,
but
46 over here.
after all this time, how do you keep it going strong?
So I'm gonna be open and honest with you. Marriage is not easy. All right. It's not a walk in the park. A lot of people enter into it. And we have this white picket fence idea. We have an idea of Prince Charming and I love you. And it's all nice love and mushy stuff. And oh, he does this for me. Oh, he buys me stuff. But when you get married, like it takes commitment. It takes work. Like you have to want this because there are some days you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna like the person you wake up next to, and sometimes the person is not gonna like you. Like you know what I mean? It's not easy.
Mm,
And the one thing that I would say with us is that no matter what we've been through, we've always still wanted each other. We love each other. Like it's unconditional love there. So
mm,
that's the one thing that I will say that's kept us together is the unconditional love. Now,
mm,
communication. Sometimes we have communications challenges, like everybody else.
mm,
It's not perfect, and so some people are like, oh my gosh, my favorite couple, this and that. Yeah, but we have issues too. We're
mm,
not perfect people. We just try to make it work, and we love each other. We
mm,
really care about each other. Now if you don't like each other, then that's a problem. If you don't
mm,
like hanging out with each other, like with him, if I think about going on a trip, I think about going with him. If I
mm,
think about going somewhere, 9 times out of 10 I'm thinking about going somewhere with him.
mm,
So that's the thing. He's still considered my best friend,
mm.
no matter what we go through. He's
Friendship.
still my best friend, the friendship part of it.
Indeed, indeed. You're the mother to a young man in his early 20s. We hear so much negativity about young Black men these days.
Yes.
Speak to us about your son, not the challenges so much, but of course the positives and how you and your husband have kept him focused.
Wow. Listen, raising a young man in Bermuda's community, it's very difficult. And I know even working at Big Brothers Big Sisters, I know a lot of parents are really struggling, like really trying to figure out. And it's crazy because we just had a mothers raising sons workshop at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Bermuda, and we had Fitzy and the gentleman from Mass there facilitating it. And if there is no cut and dry plan of how to raise a young man in this island, because everybody's different, right? So what works for my son may not work for your sons. But I will say that our family has been through a lot, Jamel, with our son. And we've just support him. We allow him to be who he is. And one thing that I'll also say is that a lot of people, when young people are talking about what they want to do in life, we encourage them and try to force them to be what we want them to be, follow the career paths that we want them to follow, instead of just allowing them to follow their dreams and their own passions. My son is a marine technician now. He graduated from New England Institute of Technology. And at first, when he said that's what he wanted to do, people were like, oh, you want to be a mechanic? Oh, you want to, and it was like, oh no, you need to study business. So you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm sitting there like, no, he doesn't. Why does he have to follow that path? And then if you look at it, when the pandemic happened, what were the careers that you really needed during that period? The people that were hands-on, the people that work with their hands. So any parent that's out there today, like, encourage your young man. If he's good with his hands, let him be good with his hands. Let him follow his dreams. It's so important. And Jamel, I mean, we've been through so much with our son. When he was 15, he was playing football, and he nearly collapsed on the field, and we had to race him to the hospital. And we found out that he had Wolff Parkinson's White syndrome, which is a rare heart disease. And sometimes you'll see a lot of football players, you'll see them passing because of it. And a lot of times it goes undiagnosed. So we had to take him overseas, and he had to have a procedure on his heart. And that was really, really hard for us. And then fast forward to 2017, we had a life-shattering thing that happened to our son that Jamel, I can't even tell you what it's like to get a phone call when somebody tells you that something like that has happened to your child. And many know, some don't, that my son was shot. And Jamel, it was a hard thing for us to go through, because here it is, we're people that give back in the community. We do for others. We look out for everybody else's children. And, sometimes we sit there, and I know I hope I'm not rambling, Jamel, but we as a Bermuda community, we say, not my child, not my problem, and something happens. And we're like, that child was involved in something. So that's what happened, and this and that. And then it hits your backyard. Then it hits your front doorstep. And you're sitting there and you're like, you're numb, absolutely numb. Like, never in a million years would you expect something to happen that would be.
And speak, because again, a lot of people don't know that your son was shot. What, getting that call, I can't imagine what getting a call like that must feel like. But how have you used that experience to maybe assist mothers who have experienced the same thing, where the fate of their children has not been good, I guess?
I have to be honest, at first, working at a youth development agency, you get a little bit bitter at first, because you're like, here it is, I'm saving people and worrying about everybody else. Like, why am I helping these children? Why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this work? And but then I realized that God's placed me in this for a reason. And what I went through inspired me to really push even further, to make more of a difference. It really empowered me. Like, I want to help mothers. I want to help their children. I want them to be able to reach their full potential, because every child has it in them. I mean, we've seen children in our program that people have been like, oh, this child is this and this child is that. And they say such negative things about these children. But then when I get them and I see them, and then they're able to follow the dreams, get some mentorship, have people really genuinely care about them, you see a 360 in those children. And Jamel, like, honestly, that empowers me. because we can make a difference in the lives of our young people. But it takes all of us. It's not a government problem. It's not a government. It's not a church problem. It's a all of us problem.
Yeah.
It's something where we all can get our hands dirty, right? A lot of people get on social media, Jamel, and I'm sorry, this is the thing that gets me the most, right? When people get on social media, somebody dies and they're like, oh yes, oh wow,
It's like clockwork.
You know, and I get it. I get it. We all get riled up over it. We all get frustrated over what we see. And then, somebody needs to do something.
Correct.
And guess what? 2 weeks later, crickets, nothing.
We speak about that on the daily hour often.
About it.
Yeah.
We speak about it. We talk about it. But what are we actually doing?
Yeah.
And
Indeed. It's like clockwork. I think you're absolutely correct. We something happens. We're on social media, we discuss it, we talk about it, but then 2 weeks later, it's forgotten. And it's a sad thing because, you know, I remember when I was a child and my grandmother, I believe, my family, if you're in the audience can correct me, she must have left her bag at the bus terminal. I'm talking years ago, probably the late 80s. And it was a top story and her bag was taken. Stuff like that's not a top story no more. We're talking about losing our sons. Just want to give you some people in the audience that are showing love for you.
The insight of it is, Jamel, though, is that we're losing a generation of man. What are we not getting? People, we can't sit on this side. We cannot sit on these sidelines and keep losing these boys, talking about each other, talking about this, talking about that. Listen, I am so tired of the rhetoric that I hear every day. All right. I am so tired of it because we need to get on the ground and get our hands dirty. I'm not perfect, guys, and I can't do this by myself. We need every single one of you. What can you do? You may not be able to give back how I can, but there is something. Everybody has something that they can do.
Indeed. I just want to go to the audience. No. We're unscripted. We're having a conversation, and these conversations are meant to inform, inspire, and motivate us so that we can create the community we deserve, we want, and be the change that we want to see. So, no, our emotions. I mean, you know what? I'm known for being the emotional one in other programs. So I appreciate you. Ruth Moran says, proud of you. You are doing so well. Glenna Swan is showing love you, Trina, and so proud of you. Nachika Trot says we are losing our men as well as our females.
That's right. And that's the other thing, right? That's the other part that we don't see is that we are losing our females. Yeah,
absolutely. I just want to switch real quickly. So part of your family, it's not just your husband and your son, but you have the most famous dog in Bermuda, Chewy, right? You have Chewy. But before we touch on Chewy, you had a near-death experience a few years ago that some may not know about. Speak to us about that and how it changed your life and the world got introduced to Chewy.
So most of you don't know, my husband and I had a pit bull dog, and my son had just left to go back to university. We had just dropped him off at the airport, came back home, and we were cooking food. And my husband had a speaker inside the kitchen, and I didn't realize it was in position correctly. I leaned on it, and the dog was actually getting his water near to it. And as I leaned, it fell on the dog. What happened next is history. But I'll just tell you that I was attacked by the dog. My hand, my 2 fingers right here, all of this, I don't know if you can see, I can't really straighten my thumb. All of this had to be reattached. It was hanging off. My finger, I don't know if you can see this finger right here. It actually was partially amputated. I have lots of scars on my arms, like all right here. It looked like whale blubber. It was so bad. I honestly thought I was I thought I was dead. My husband came in, and what he did was he actually threw water on the dog. The dog went like this, and then, he was able to get me up, and then I scrambled, and then something just told me it was a towel right there on my chair, and I just took that towel and just quickly wrapped it around my arms and pressed it because I remember that you're supposed to apply pressure. And honestly, I tell my husband, oh my God, my son's on his way to school. He's on a plane and he might lose his mom. And that's, it was just, because I felt cold. You guys don't understand. This was So anyway, my husband races me to the hospital, and it was crazy because that was one moment that I really saw how much my husband loved me. Was like when he ran into that hospital and ran with me in his arms to the hospital. He went to the door, and the lady was like, okay, you got to sign a hand. He went right across where you have to sign people in, and he was banging on the emergency door to get me in. He was like, let her in, let her in. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my wife. And he's banging on the door. And the lady's like, sir, you need to sign her in. The security guard came, and he just went and opened the door. And my husband ran in with me. And everybody in emergency just stood up. And he was like, my wife, I need a doctor. So a woman came over to him, and I remember this. And the woman was like, sir, what happened? He said, are you a doctor? She was like, no. If you're not a doctor, get away from me. I need the doctor. I need it right now. And they were like, sorry, we don't have any beds. My husband took me in one of the rooms and rested me on the floor. And it's like, I need a doctor. And finally, the guy came in and he said, sir, I'm a doctor. And then they dealt with me after that. Yeah. So, but it's like that whole story, like, and just seeing him like that was just like, whoa, like.
And I remember, you know, obviously space happens, but you telling me that story. And eventually you did share it, I believe, on Instagram at one point. What eventually you healed, you recovered. The dog is no longer.
I mean, healed and recovered. Let me tell you, it was a journey for that.
Speak to us.
You know, I mean, remember, I had to learn how to write again. I had to go through therapy. I was laying up in a bed. Remember, I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't wipe myself. All right. Let's just keep it real. My husband had to do all of that for me. All right. Most humiliating thing for me, but no, like I had to humble myself and allow my husband and my family to take care of me. And I was just there like this, just laid up. And I was miserable because, you know, I can't keep still to save myself, right? I was like, oh, Lord, how is this going to work? And but my family, like just old party and people were coming to see me and stuff. But I was in pain. And the thing is, I'm allergic to the good drugs, right? So I couldn't take anything besides Tylenol. So what's the point of taking anything? So I was just there in pain.
Wow. And, you know, I think I speak for many in the audience. Only Bean says, greater is he that is in you.
Amen.
That he is that is in the world. What a ministry, Patrina, proud of you.
But I will say this to you, Jamel, is that, well, you know, I'm a woman of faith, and you know, and I believe everybody has the right to believe what they believe, but I'm a woman of faith. And so for me, sometimes I believe God is speaking to me. You know, and the experiences that I have, I don't believe they're for myself. I believe it's for me to help someone else. So everything that I go through, whether it's negative or not, I accept that as part of my journey in order for me to empower and help someone else that's out there.
Love it. And speaking of helping other people, let's just switch gears now. So you look, Power Girl, Power 95, you've been on TV, you've done it all. Speak to us about the transition from broadcast media to corporate, because some people don't know you went corporate for a bit.
I sure did.
But to nonprofit so seamlessly. Speak to us about the transitions in your career and those spaces.
You know, when it came to radio is my passion. I love radio with a passion. But I also know that we have seasons in our lives, and there are sometimes times that you actually have to let certain things go. You know, that's how I live my life. I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, it was like, you know what? It's time for me to move on. I did this for a bit, but it's time for that next level. What's next out there for me? Where else is God leading me to be? As you do know, I did leave Bermuda Broadcasting Company, even though I was still doing radio and some other stuff on the side. I went to, it was Bank of Bermuda, member of HSBC Group, but when I left, it was HSBC. And one of the reasons that I did that is that I did have a conversation a while when I first got into broadcast with Rick Richardson. And he told me that what he would like to see me do is learn business and get a better understanding of the business world. And so that I'm not just one-sided, you know what I'm trying to say, Jimmy? Help me out. Come on, give me the word.
One dimensional.
There we go. One dimensional. You don't want to be that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to try everything and also gain experience in all areas so that you also can be taken seriously, you know. So I took those words to heart, and so I went to HSBC. I have to be honest with you, the corporate world is not for me. This is not Patrina's cup of tea. God bless everybody. I mean, I like the money in corporate, but it's definitely not for me. I felt, and I mean, this is no disrespect to any of for the company or whatever, but I felt like I was selling my soul. Like I didn't feel like I was happy. I was miserable. I actually broke out in hives before I left there. And it wasn't that I couldn't do the work, because I can do the work and do it well, but I wasn't being true to who I was. I actually, you know, just wanted to have that corporate, you know, I wanted to learn about corporate, but that wasn't who I am. I'm not that corporate person. So I had to be honest about that. And so one day I saw a job advertised in the paper for Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Bermuda. And I have to be honest with you, it wasn't like a big aha moment. It was like, I need to get on the bank. And hey, charity work, that sounds pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be really honest. And it was funny because my boss back then, she said something to me. She said, you know, I looked at this job in the paper. This is the funny part. She said, and I felt that this is something that you would enjoy. Really? She didn't know I had applied to the job and was about to hand in my resignation, but hey, you know, but yeah, and I ended up getting that job. And I have to tell you that these children have changed my life. They have absolutely changed their families. They are a part of my family. Every single child in that program, I care about them. I care about their families. I care about what happens to them. And I'll never forget, my first project was to shoot a commercial for Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And they had given me a match. One was Corville Hilton and Cameron Jeffers. And the other one was Benjamin Edwards and Steve DeCudo. And when I saw the two matches together, it was something that was like, it was just like something I had never experienced. The connection between the bigs and the littles, and how comfortable the littles were with the bigs, and how it felt like they were family, you know? And it's like, after that, it's like I started to see just how life-changing it is for these children. And it made me really, really want to make a difference even more.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a path that people who know, not just anyone can do it. But what I love about the journey is you were honest with yourself, and you said, hey, corporate, it may get you a lot of that money.
It wasn't for me.
But if it's not aligned, what are you really doing for yourself?
Look, Jamel, can I just tell you though, my husband even said, when I told him I was leaving HSBC, and I was going to Big Brothers Big Sisters to be the fund development marketing director. And he said to me, so you have to raise the money in order for the organization to stay alive. So, but you're leaving a job that makes money to go to a job that, he's like, okay, well, because we were, you know, he was in his career, you know, we were, you know, we were on a road to something big, you know, and it's like, yeah, you can go work for a charity. Okay, well, you know what? I support you, honey.
There you go.
You know,
there you go. So you've had this journey. You've had this journey from media broadcasting to corporate to nonprofit. What's been the highlight of your career thus far? Obviously, you're now the managing director of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Bermuda.
My highlight is when in 2021, 3 of our young Black men from Big Brothers Big Sisters that I saw enter, when I first came to the program, they were like 5 and 6 years old. They received some of the highest scholarships in Bermuda. When I saw that, that's my highlight. That right there for me was everything. And these young men come back to see me every time they visit from school, and they tell me about their accomplishments and achievements. And these are young men that potentially, you know, they would even tell you, like, listen, if it wasn't for Big Brothers Big Sisters and my mother, I don't know where I would be, you know. And that right there. And the other highlight is being able to offer scholarship money now to some of our littles that are going on to further their education. That's a highlight for me. To be able to also create connections for our young people. So I said, you know what? It seems that I was placed as Power Girl for a reason. Because people knew me. Yes, fine. But guess what? I'm able to connect my littles to people in fields they're interested about, people in the corporate community. I'm able to, it's amazing. Like we have some programs running right now where, like, I'll tell you, one at Fidelis, where after school, some of our children go to Fidelis and get mentored by the staff. One of them even meets with the CEO once a week. And the CEO of that company said, that's my favorite meeting of the week when I meet with this young man. That right there, that's powerful.
Love it, love it, love it. You know, speaking of young people, so many young people look up to you. Maya Palacio of Media Mida,
I love Maya.
she credits you with being one of her mentors.
Wow.
Why is it so important for people like yourself to mentor younger people? And who were some of your mentors coming up? And what are some lessons you learned from them along the way?
Why? The thing is, why are we going to hold on to all of the information that we have for ourselves? We can't take it to the grave. You know what I mean? Like what? Like why are we holding on to what we know? I want to see a young person come out and be better than what I am. I want them to take some of the wisdom that I might have and be able to rock it and not make the same mistakes that I made. You know, like I want to see young people thrive. I think we've had a problem, and you probably see this, Jamel, that sometimes people that are of the older generation, when we were coming up, sometimes they didn't want to pass the baton to us, or they didn't want to you know, they just didn't want us in their shoes because they wanted to hold on to it for themselves. And I mean, I know all of us have experienced that. They experience it in churches. They experience it in the corporate world. We experience it in broadcast. And so for me, we have to empower that next generation. If we don't, what is there going? What is the next? What's the future going to look like if we don't?
Yeah.
That's why we're here. It's not for myself. I don't need this. Like honestly, every award that I've gotten means nothing to me. Let me tell you. You want to know where my Queen certificate is? Lord, please don't be upset with me. Bermuda. I don't know if I should be sharing this. Lord of mercy. But anyway, I've never hung it up. Never. It's in my drawer. I don't have to see that stuff. That's paper. That doesn't matter. But when you see a young person like a Nadir Young from Big Brothers Big Sisters, or you see a Maya Palacio, and they say something like that, and I know I've been able to help, that right there, that's priceless.
Yeah. And who were some of the people that did what you're doing for these young people for you?
Gosh, it's so many. It was so many people that did look out for me. Gosh, can I just say, there was one person in particular that has been a factor in my life since I was a little girl, and her name is Katie Sheehy. She's actually my P6 teacher from Gilbert Institute, and I suffered with a bit of depression. Down on myself, felt like I was nothing. And this woman inspired me, motivated me, and made me realize that I am somebody. She really, like that right there, what she did for me, even throughout my life, she still checks on me. She still sends me messages. And I mean, it's amazing. I'm sorry, I'm looking at all of the messages that coming in. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and
So,
I'm gonna go through some of the comments at the end because a lot of things coming through that we'll go through some questions and comments as well. I just want to shift gears real quickly.
but I also want to say I have people like Gina Spence that actually like, it was people out there that actually cared about me. You know, because that was the thing, like growing up a lot of times, sometimes you didn't really feel like people cared about me. But there were people that actually watched out for me. Leola Stovall, let me tell you about Leola. Leola had my back from the start when it came to broadcast and just being a personality and an individual. She was the one that told me, let me tell you something. Your time is money, you know. When you're up there, you have to dress up and you look good. You need to charge. And I was like, okay, Leola. but at the end of the day, I mean, just checking on me and making sure that my mental health was okay, right? Mental space, mental health, you know?
Let's transition a bit. We just had an election for the leader of the PLP and in turn Bermuda. as they are the government. So that means the person elected would be premier. Why has Patrina, a standout voice in Bermuda, never gotten into politics? Oh, I think she's frozen, and frozen at the right time, because that question, folks, that question would do it, but she is frozen. Hopefully we get her back in a second, but awesome conversation. We'll definitely get through some of the comments in the audience. I agree with Sarika Richardson, who says proud of her and her journey. It's amazing to watch her and her journey. Really amazing. Maya Palacio actually says the most selfless, strong, and beautiful woman she's ever met. So kind and caring, and fights for so many people. Never asks for anything in return, but deserves the world. Shanna Smith says, "What a time to be frozen." Oh, indeed, indeed, indeed. What a time. I agree. Let's bring her back in. Hey,
Jamel, you just talked about the election. What I'm going to tell you is, I think somebody's blocking you.
Oh,
because as soon as you said that, you don't think that's crazy? I'm sorry. Anybody that's watching, that was crazy.
Sister, I'm going to tell you.
Can you not say anything else about that?
The timing couldn't have been better. But that said, truthfully, as a standout voice, why haven't you ever gotten into politics?
Because for me, politics is poison. No disrespect. Like I have to do the disclaimer. No disrespect to anybody that's in it. It's so funny because my mom and I, when I was younger, I told my mom when I was like 5 years old, I'm going to be the premier of Bermuda. When I was 10-year-old, I'm going to be the premier of Bermuda. And then I grew up. And as I grew up, I worked in media, and then I worked in corporate, and then now I work for a not-for-profit. And it just doesn't, it's something about it that doesn't sit right for me. And I want people to know that you don't have to be a government member or an official in order to make a difference. I find that you can, and I mean, no disrespect, once again, my disclaimer, no disrespect to anyone that is in government, all right? Because we do have some good people that are out there, but I don't think you need to be in government to make a difference. I think you can make more of a difference just being a grassroots person on the sidelines. Please understand that everybody, like I'm going to keep saying this, Jamel, everybody can make a difference. Everybody can do something. There is something that can be done. And I don't mean just getting on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and having a rant. No, everybody can do something.
And you are a living testimony of that. The audience is crazy. Mr. Photogenic says the looks like a birdie block.
Hey, Photogenic, I don't know what's happening. Photogenic.
O'Connor Family Channel, she was frozen at the right time. But God, look,
listen,
hey,
look, you know why? Look, the reason they're saying that because they know my mouth, and they're like, "Oh, we need to stop her." So the Lord knew. Seriously, you didn't put me on a soapbox, so that worked.
There you go. There you go. Let's talk about it. A great career, community activist. What would you say, along the way is something that maybe is a regret that you wish you would have done or done differently?
You know what? At the end of the day, I mean, okay. So, I used to sing when I was younger. That I don't know if do you remember that, Jamel? Like back in the day, Pat and Patrina O'Connor singing all over the place. No.
I remember.
You know what, Jamel? Go back.
Let me just say this. I want to forget about your singing simply because of something you did this past summer, which I don't appreciate. A little Somerset thing, whatever.
Oh my God! No.
Go ahead. I just go ahead.
Remember, I was a gospel singer though too. Anyway, so I do regret sometimes not taking things a little bit more seriously. But I think this is the path that I'm supposed to take. And we'll just see what God has in store as I move forward, because it's not too late. You know what I mean? To do some of the work and work on some of the projects that I had from before. I know my mom misses me singing with her. Hi, Mom. She's always trying to get me to sing, but let me tell you, Jamel, she has scarred me for life. You know why? Because I don't like to practice.
All right, Allen Iverson.
Practicing is, I know, and it's terrible, but I know in order to be great, you have to practice. So therefore, that's why I stopped. Indeed. Because I'm not going to be great because I don't like practicing.
Yeah. I just want to go back to something you said. I'll use photogenic. He was there, yourself. There's many others who have been able to make a great contribution to Bermuda and the community without politics. And I admire it. Rusty, I actually consider Rusty G a mentor in some respects for, reminding me that you can make that contribution without such. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Rusty is one of my favorite people. Okay. Rusty is humble. He's a hard worker. And he is not just a DJ. I want to tell everybody that. And he's not just a producer either. Rusty G's got one of the greatest hearts, man. He wants to give back. He really does. I mean, people don't even know the half about what Rusty G is. And I remember when he was working at Southampton Princess, and he told me that he was leaving there and he was going full time into his business. And trust me, guys, you don't wait till Rusty G unfolds everything else that he has. And even Mr. Photogenic, believe it or not, you're gonna have a good laugh at this. Mr. Photogenic and I were co-hosts on Youth Talk for a bit. Nobody knows that. So Sean and I go all the way back, and he's another person that's a beast. His got multi-talents. And then even somebody like Nadanja and Ed. And people don't get to see that these guys do a lot of giving back on the sidelines, And I'm not just talking about hosting. I'm talking about actually getting on the ground dirty and helping people. These guys do a lot. And this is the other part, Jamel. A lot of people want to be a social superstar, social media, take my picture. I'm out there. I'm so cute. I don't care about all that. That's not what I do. And it's fine. But why do you want that platform?
Correct.
What are you going to do with that platform? How are you going to make impact with that platform?
Yeah.
And I want to pose that question to everybody that's out there watching. You know what I mean? It's okay to have the platform and all the followers. But what are you really going to do? Are you just going to be cute? Are you just going to be funny? What else are you going to do? And if you can see with Photogenic, he's funny, he's crazy, but he's doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
Rusty G, he's producing great music, but he's also doing some other stuff. All these guys are doing other stuff, I
want to transition because all of this said, how would you like to be remembered for your contribution to the community?
That's a hard question. I just want to leave empty. I want to be able to, whatever's in me, it needs to come out. Whatever needs to be left, whatever mentorship I need to do, whatever help I need to give. All I know is that they say you're born on this date, you die on this date, and you have that dash in between. And that dash in between is your full life. Jamel, I was hosting an event yesterday, and at the end of the event, we were asking for parents who had dressed up in their Halloween costume, right? Only 3 parents dressed up. All these children were dressed up, but we had 3 parents, 1 couple and a lady, right? And at the end, I thought about it. I said, you know what? In Bermuda, people are so concerned about what everybody else is doing that they forget how to have fun and enjoy themselves. They're so concerned about the next person and what the other person's doing, or somebody's looking at me, what somebody's going to say, what somebody's going to post about me, that sometimes they don't even have a good time. One thing about me, Jamel, I don't care where I am. I don't care if I'm the only person in a party. I don't care if I'm the only person at an event, or even if I'm not and nobody else is dancing, I will dance by myself. I am going to have a good time. If it's a costume party and nobody shows up in a costume, I will wear a costume. You understand what I mean? Like it's living life to the fullest. It's enjoying what we have to offer. Everybody says there's nothing to do in Bermuda. Oh, there's plenty to do. You just ain't enjoying it. You ain't experiencing it. You got to get out there and live life and make it for yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I'm probably rambled somewhere else.
No. I just want to go through some comments from the audience. Debbie Ray Rivers, she said, you are a light, Patrina, and a lady who inspires so many.
Debbie, that can I just tell you?
Sure.
Debbie is another person with one of the sweetest spirits that I know. Debbie truly cares, and she's always encouraging me every step of the way. So Debbie, thank you so much.
Nachika Trot says mentorship and sponsorship should be the norm. Each one
Yes.
teaches one. All need to send back the elevator for the next person. And she went on to say, you are a living testimony and inspiration to many. Keep
Rest
the
the cake for them,
energy.
Nachika. Rest the cake. This is one of my good things. I love Nachika too. Doing some good work as well with young people.
Mia Hartman says, thank you, BBBS, for what you've done for both of my children. Thank you, Patrina, for still playing a role in my son's life.
And he's in university now.
Indeed.
He was our scholarship recipient for this year. He got a $5,000 scholarship. Yes.
Nice.
From Big Sisters.
We've got another one. Denny O'Connor, preach on, power girl. Even when your world has been dark, you've still managed to find the light for all of us. We love you.
That means a lot. That means a lot, man. This means a lot.
So we've reached the end of the show
already.
But it's time.
I'm sweating now.
It's time for one for one. And so what for one for one is I'll mention one word.
Okay. Right? And I have to give one word? You
have to describe what this means to you in one word. So we'll go as many times in 20 seconds. I'm going to put the timer on. So I'll mention one word.
Tablet stuff like this, you know.
No, this is unscripted. I'm not going to tell you. It's unscripted. All right.
Okay.
Ready? So one word. I'll mention one word. The first word that comes to your mind. All right.
It has to be a word. Just one word?
Just one word. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Ready? All right. Here we go. Family.
Love.
Career.
Accomplishment.
Community.
Family.
Bermuda. Didn't give me nothing for Bermuda, and that's okay.
I had it in my head, but it didn't come out. I was like,
you couldn't decide which word.
Yes, it was my head. So that's the other thing with me. So much thought, so much process going on in my head that it's just like, oh.
You know, I want to say this, right? I have so much more I would love to talk to you about because, you know, I reached out to you about 2 weeks ago. I said I wanted to begin this show. And the reason I wanted to start this show is I felt like we know people, but we don't know people.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we truly knew people, we would actually be inspired, motivated by their stories and who they are. So going forward, I'd love to have you back on sometime to really, you know, talk about some other things. But seriously, Patrina, Power Girl, O'Connor Painter, honestly, thank you so much for having this conversation.
Now my palms are sweaty. I'm sweated all out. They probably, oh God, sweating.
No, seriously. I love it when, you know, we end and people say, you know, bring her back. We want more. I love that because we have more to go, but that's a good thing. So continue being that bright light our community needs, and we'll definitely be in touch. All right.
Thank you, Jamel. It's been a pleasure. You weren't too bad after all. You're not as brutal as I thought you were.
Yeah. There's rumors about me. I don't know where they come from.
I was like, oh man, Jamel Hardtman, you sure you're gonna go on his show?
Yeah, I'm not as bad as people make me out to be. But no, we've got to continue this, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. All righty, Patrina, Power Girl O'Connor Painter, folks. If you appreciated that conversation, make sure you give us a like on the YouTube channel. Make sure you share this conversation. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. You do not want to miss future conversations as well. We have a lot in store. All right. So if you appreciated this conversation with Bermuda's Power Girl, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. All right. Honestly, I appreciate you as well. Thank you, Selena Simons. Thank you, Marquita Lee, Miss Utopia, Bermuda. Thank you, Sister Sherry. Thank you, O'Connor Family Channel. We are all proud of her. Trust me, she is a golden child of our beautiful Bermuda. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, JB Sam. Folks, thanks for engaging on Jamel Hardtman Unscripted. These conversations are meant to inform, inspire, and motivate us through real life personal experiences and stories from people in our community. Hopefully, the more we learn about one another, the more we'll love and respect one another, because there's more to each of us than what many of us see. Thanks again for tuning in for this conversation of Jamel Hardtman Unscripted. If all goes well, I'll see you again very soon. Until then, I'm out. Peace.